welcome back to Time to Dice Character Creation, where we make your favorite fictional characters of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. This week, we're making the Master of the Elements and 112-year-old child, Avatar Aang. Aang was born with the grand destiny of mastering all four elements and bringing balance to the world. But like most 12-year-olds, he wasn't the best at following directions, so he ran away and got trapped in the same life-sustaining iceberg as Captain America for 100 years. But now, Aang is back and ready to make up for his time away by defeating the Fire Nation and ending their crusade of really cool steampunk tank things. So beware of spoilers, and without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so what are the requirements to be Avatar? Well, first, we have to have perfect mastery of all four elements, bending them to our will. And for all of you saying kineticist, yeah, you're right, but stick around, this build might surprise you still. Aang also needs to be able to commune with the spirits, fixing their problems and preventing them from becoming an issue for unsuspecting towns. And finally, we need to do all of this with the balanced energy of a 12-year-old boy. That one is specific to Avatar Aang, not all avatars get that. The avatar may have unlimited cosmic power, but all of that cosmic power is still trapped in a human body. 8 hit points, boost to con and dex, 25-foot movement speed, you know the drill. We debated over whether or not to go with the solely versatile heritage to reflect Aang's connection to the elements, but the feats didn't really fit him, and Aang shows no signs of having low light vision unless you count his eyes glowing while in the avatar state. So instead, we'll go the versatile heritage to pick up the feather step feat. For our background, I was going to go nomad to reflect Aang's time with the air nomads growing up, but then I stumbled upon this gem. The time traveler background reflects someone who purposefully or otherwise ended up in the wrong time period. This background gets us a boost to Dex and Con, and training in 3 lore skills of our choice that reflect our knowledge from our time period. We're going to go with Air Nomad lore. Aang is one of the last people who remembers the Air Nomad Society. Historical customs lore. Aang knows how the Fire Nation greeted each other 100 years ago. Flameo, Hotman. And Bending lore, because there are only a few people who know more about the spiritual side of bending than the Air Nomads. As a kineticist, we get expert in both fortitude and reflex saves. Aang is amazing at avoiding fire, literally. We also get trained in 3 plus our intelligence modifier skills of our choice, plus nature. We only get training up to simple weapons, which is fine because Aang can't hold on to his staff anyway. And finally, for our armor, we're going to get training in light, although by the end of this build, we're going to have far too much dex for even that. For our attributes, dexterity should absolutely be our best stat. Unfortunately, Kineticist's key stat is Constitution, meaning that we get a free boost to Con, and we need Con for all of our Kineticist abilities. There's no way to get our Dexterity stat above our Constitution without taking our Constitution down to a +2, and that would nerf our abilities to the point we would be almost useless. So Con is going to be our primary stat. This still works because bending requires physical training. Dexterity is next. Aang is quick, and reflex saves are kind of his thing. Next, we both have Wisdom and Charisma. Wisdom reflects our connection to everything spiritual, and Charisma reflects our natural role as a mediator. For our skills, we're going to get Legendary and Acrobatics. We are called Twinkle Toes for a reason. Diplomacy is also legendary. Resolving conflict non-violently is what we're best at. And finally, we get Legendary in Nature. All avatars need a large mount-like animal companion and a tiny team mascot pet, both of which have 4-lettered names. I don't know why, it's just a requirement for the avatar. No expert or master skills, but we do get training in deception. Sometimes, to bring people peace, you apparently have to just make up stories about knowing their ancestors. Occultism, in case your GM wants to rule that spirits are more the Pathfinder spirits of ghosts and stuff, rather than the nature spirits they are in Avatar. We get performance for the one episode where Aang reenacts Footloose, and stealth to hide from Zuko. We also get athletics, but that's mostly because we just need a skill feat from it. Alright, moving on to level 1. But first, this video is sponsored by subscribers like you. Seriously, every one of you who are subscribed get me one step closer to doing this full time, which has always been my dream, so thank you so much. Alright, back to the build. As a kineticist, we immediately get to pick a kinetic gate. Aang will eventually get to master all 4 elements, but we're going to start with a single gate, air. Aang spent 12 years of his life mastering airbending, and then learned the other 3 elements in less than a year, so we're going to spend a lot of investment into airbending. This also gives us the air junction, meaning whenever we use a 2-action impulse with the air trait, we can immediately stride or fly up to half our speed, getting the never stop moving part of this build out of the way immediately. Speaking of our impulses, we get Elemental Blast and Base Kinesis that all kineticists get, but we also get 2 air impulses of our choice. And if we spend our ancestry feat on natural ambition, we can bump that up to 3. Air cushion slows down the fall of a creature within 60 feet, delivering them safely to the ground. 4 wind lets us target up to 4 willing allies and allow them to stride up to half their speed. And because this is an air impulse, we don't need to be one of those allies because we already use our air junction to move as well. And finally, we steal a little bit of Sokka's thunder with his feat Aerial Boomerang, letting us send out a gust of air in a 60-foot line, and then on our next turn, we can bring that gust of wind back to us with a single action. We can also take the class feat Elemental Familiar at this level to get Momo as a familiar, give him flyer and damage avoidance, and you have yourself a flying lemur. It doesn't do much, but hey, that's Momo. At level 2, the Acrobat dedication boosts our Acrobat proficiency to Expert, as well as lets us tumble through enemy spaces without treating them as difficult terrain. At level 3, we get Extract elements, letting us hit creatures who are made of air with their own air. And Will Expertise, boosting our Will saves up to Expert. Also, we pick up the Fleet feat to give us 5 extra movement speed. At level 4, we get the class feat Safe Elements, meaning that we can now create an avalanche of snow and wipe out an entire Fire Nation army and still claim that we've never killed anyone at the end of the series. At level 5, we get the Clever Improviser feat. This will let us call on our past selves to tell us how to use any skill that we're not trained in. Also at this level, we reach our first gate threshold, allowing us to either expand our air bending or branch out into another type of bending. I know some of you are dying for some 4 elements avatar action, but I'm actually going to expand the portal here. This will give us the air junction, allowing us and any of our allies that start in our kinetic aura an increase of movement speed by 10 feet. We also get another air feat, and we actually have a tough decision here. Air Shroud lets us put up a ball of air, making that aura difficult terrain to enemies and imposing a penalty on ranged attacks, but Lightning Dash lets us move 30 feet and deals electricity damage to any creature we run through. I'm going to go with Air Shroud here, simply because the lightning damage doesn't really fit our character, but if it were me, I would go Lightning Dash and reflavor the electricity damage as bludgeoning damage, and call it Run Like the Wind or something. At level 6, we get Flinging Updraft, letting us move any creature up to 30 feet away. If the creature is unwilling, they can make a reflex save to negate the effect, but if you're trying to use this to get away from a foe, let me remind you that your Aura Junction means even if they fail, we can still move 20 feet away. At level 7, our Impulse DCs increase to Expert with Kinetic Expertise, and our Fortitude saves go to Master with Kinetic Durability. And the Incredible Initiative feat gives us a +2 to our initiative rolls. At level 8, we get the Dodge Away Archetype feat, letting us dodge an attack we are aware of with a reaction, boosting our AC by 1, and allowing us to immediately step 10 feet away. At level 9, we can let one of our past lives fully take over, to increase one of our untrained skills by 4 once per day. Maybe let Avatar Kyoshi take over for a boost to Intimidation. We also boost our Perception to Expert with Perception Expertise. We also reach our second gate threshold here. This time, we're going to fork the path to pick up some water bending. Now, we can shoot out Water Blast, or if we need something a bit stronger, we can pick up the Tidal Hands feat to do 2 15-foot cones or 1 30-foot cone that deal damage and push enemies back. At level 10, we pick up another water bending technique with the Impulse feat Impenetrable Fog, letting us feel a 10-foot burst with fog, granting everything within concealment and difficult terrain. Perfect for if we need to sneak our boat past a blockade. At level 11, we get a couple proficiency bonuses. Our weapon proficiencies go up to Expert, and reflex saves go to Master, as well as boosting successes to critical successes. We also get Reflow Elements, which I don't usually like for a character building standpoint, but for the Avatar it kind of works, since he can probably use any Impulse feat in the book. At level 12, we can use the Octopus Water Bending Stance with Deflecting Wave, letting us reduce damage coming in by half our level, or our full level if the damage is fire or acid. Spoiler alert, there's a lot of fire bending going on in the show. Level 13 gives us another gate threshold. We're going to fork the path again to pick up Earth Bending. Our Earth Blasts are shorter range than our Air Blast, but they do a good deal more damage, and they can deal piercing damage. And if we really want to bring the pain, we have Weight of Stone, letting us bring down a boulder on the foe, possibly knocking them out of the sky. Useful for when we're fighting a comet-boosted Ozai. Speaking of moves we used against Fire Lord Ozai, level 14 gives us Cyclonic Ascent, letting us use that air ball in the Avatar state that we used to fly around during the finale. At level 15, we get Kinetic Mastery, boosting our Impulse DC to Master, and Greater Kinetic Durability, boosting our fortitude saves to legendary. At level 16, we're starting to get really good at this bending all the elements thing, and can start pulling off combo moves. The class feat 2 element infusion lets us combine 2 elemental blast using the better of the two's range and damage. Now we can have the damage of an earth blast with the range of an air blast. At level 17, we get the ancestry feat heroic presence, letting us give all of our allies the benefits of the zealous conviction spell. We also get our final gate threshold, letting us learn firebending. If you think this is a little bit late to get the big part of the build, remember, Aang only learned firebending 5 episodes before his final fight with Ozai, and those episodes were Zuko's side adventures. He wasn't even in most of them. We also get the Blazing Wave impulse feat, letting Aang throw out a cone of fire. And finally, we get double reflow, letting us retrain 2 impulses each day. At level 18, we get the feat Ride the Tsunami, calling a huge wave of water in either a 60-foot cone or a 120-foot line. This wave crashes down into our enemies, damaging them and pushing them back 20 feet. You can also use this wave to move to any space within the affected area, providing you a little bit of mobility. Level 19 gives us 3 features. Kinetic Legend boosts our impulse DCs to legendary, Light Armor Master boosts our armor proficiency to master, and Final Gate lets us enter the Avatar state at will, automatically channeling elements at the start of every turn if they're not already channeled. And then, at level 20, we can pick up the feat Kinetic Pinnacle. With this, we are permanently quickened, and we can use the extra action to either channel elements or use a 1-action impulse or stance feat. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's look at our skill feats. Most of our feats are going to be acrobatics. I think that makes sense for an airbender. First off, we get Assurance, which helps us avoid bad dice rolls. Catfall, combined with Rolling Landing, lets us not only avoid damage from falls, but also convert falls of 10 feet or more into extra movement. Kip Up means being prone is basically a non-issue. Graceful Leaper means we can use our acrobatics for high jumps and long jumps. Quick Spring lets us move as a free action after tumbling through an opponent's space. And Tumbling Teamwork lets our tumble through check provide a distraction for an ally, allowing them to step. We only picked up training in athletics to get the quick jump feat, so that we can jump with a single action. So of course we get that. And we pick up legendary negotiation from diplomacy, letting our pacifist nature shine. Finally, for nature, we get both Spirit Speaker and Consult the Spirits to let us visit the spirit world, and Train Animal to teach Momo a trick. Alright, we're finished with the build. Let's take a look back and see what we've built. For our pros, I think I say this with all kineticists, but it's worth repeating. We are extremely versatile. We have pretty consistent way of dealing all 3 types of physical damage, as well as fire damage and cold damage. And if you want to break character a little bit, throw in electricity damage. We also are extremely fast. We have a base movement speed of 30 feet, and that's increased to 50 when we have elements channeled, and plenty of ways that we can move as a part of a different action. And finally, we are an escape artist. With legendary acrobatics plus slippery prey, there isn't much things can do to prevent us from using our high speed. We do have a couple of things to worry about in this build. Chiefly among them, we have low will saves. Mind control isn't too common in the Avatar universe, but if you're facing the Dai Li, you might have an issue. We also have no way of getting Appa. Sky Bisons just aren't a listed animal companion, and as much as I tried, there's no way to get flight on a mounted animal companion that is big enough to carry out the party. And finally, honestly, I have nothing. Kineticists are really good, and this build gives you a little bit of everything that Kineticist has to offer. They are my favorite class for a reason. Alright, you've made it to the end of the video. That means you, and only you, get the privilege of being told by me to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share the video. If you do not do this, you are not allowed to watch any other video. I will know. I am watching.